That's your violin, Arnaud.
Carlos, don't sell it to anybody else.
It's totally Arnaud's.
I think we should start from the beginning, which is actually, I think it was around April of 2022, where you first met this wonderful violin. And I think it sometimes I think just things happen in the most unexpected way. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say that you have probably seen more Stradivarius and more violins than certainly most of my friends.
The second I played this violin was, I knew something was very special. And I have tried many instruments before, and I have been one of those people for a long time that wanted to play one of these instruments on a regular basis, because I have on and off. I remember being loaned a beautiful Stradivarius from the Juilliard School when I was a student. And thanks to you, you put this in my hands. I remember the day I tried it, I really madly fell in love with it. And you said to me, well, see what you can do with it. And that was the beginning of a long and intense journey together. Not only a journey with this instrument, just a human journey. The relationship between patrons and musicians, patrons and instruments, the importance of these instruments, it's been a great learning experience for me. And I have to say that I remember clearly not just the beginning when I tried the violin for the first time, but the end of the journey, sort of, because it was basically the final day or the final week where, you know, I had tried a lot, different avenues, things didn't work out in various ways. And so I remember I was coming to New York for the festival that I run at Boscobel, and I knew this was it. I had to bring the Strad back and had to, you know, go back to my instrument. And basically those last moments, I like to say the last day pretty much, is when I went to see this family and things worked out.
I do agree with you that this journey has been, in addition to finding this incredible violin, I think it's been a human journey. One, I think from you to discover your own voice or to find actually your partner in voice. But I think it's been a beautiful journey also to show others the beauty of this triangle of musician instrument. And I am confident that if we were to ask these generous patrons how they feel, they would feel a sense of gratitude that we've shown them a world of instruments that they've also gotten to understand very well now. How satisfaction, how rewarding it is.
I really like to think about the human aspect of it, because it seems like a daunting task, and maybe hopefully our little chat here could open some eyes and minds to some younger players that might see this, that you have to remain very optimistic and open-minded, and it is all about human connection, human relationships. And so don't stay at home just to practice. Do practice a lot, but go to concerts, meet people, speak with people, let them understand your journey, who you are as a musician, how you're going to get better as a musician, the importance, the historical importance of these instruments. I think it's important for young people to hear this, because and I was in that position 2 years ago. I'm never going to find somebody who will buy an instrument for me to use. Other people have been lucky, but it's such a rare occurrence, and somehow it happened. I'm amazed that I made it happen. But really, once we started the process, I actually remember the very first time, or the first people I asked. I made the ask. My goodness, was I nervous? You know, it's an enormous amount of money. It feels wrong to go and ask somebody for, you know, the value of this instrument, but the response was quite unbelievable, actually. And you know, of course, you have to target the right people. You have to know that the people you're going to ask for have the means, but then it's a matter of making it clear to them that they're buying into a piece of art, something that is, there are very few of these instruments left in the world, a piece of history. The documents that came with this instrument are so beautiful to know who has played the violin. By the way, an amazing story. I played in Athens, Georgia, I don't know, maybe a year ago, something like that. And a gentleman came to us backstage because we announced from the stage that I was playing a 1731 violin. He came backstage, I told him the name of the instrument, the Schneeberger 1731 Stradivari. And just a couple of days later, he sent me a beautiful email with some possible photos, we can't be sure, from the late 1800s, probably with this violin and a violinist, and possibly also a recording of one of the previous owners or players of this violin. So once you start delving deeper into the history of these instruments, you realize you're just a part of that chain of musicians and owners, and it's an incredible thing.
In addition to it is such a pure, healthy, you can hear it. I think to me, actually, to also connect it with the history, I am particularly happy that you're going to continue a great legacy. The previous owner, Mr. Schneeberger, he had a very auspicious career. I mean, he was asked to premiere Bartók's first violin concerto and many other pieces. So I'm very happy that a very good friend of mine is going to continue the legacy of this.
Do you remember when I sent you a video from Seattle Chamber Music Society?
I was just going to say that, which is one of the most moving things, which actually was the support of your friends, musicians. Arnaud sends me this message with a video text message, and it is James Ennis, Ben Beilman, and Karen Gomio. And each of those musicians, in addition to being absolutely fantastic musicians and good friends of yours, they have exceptional instruments. And the video said, Arnaud deserves this. You can't let it go. It cannot go to anybody else but Arnaud.
That's your violin, Arnaud. Carlos, don't sell it to anybody else.
It's totally Arnaud's.
To me, it was actually a great sentiment. Probably you would agree that it might not be for them, but they understood that this violin was for you. And they all, of course, recognized that it was an exceptional violin, but more importantly, they recognized that it was the right voice for you.
Absolutely.
I remember that video with humor and also very, very moving.
No, it was an amazing day, you know, in Seattle with these great players that you mentioned, and there were 3 Stradivariuses and 1 Guarnerius and a couple of amazing bows also. And it was very interesting because of all the great instruments, this seemed to fit me the best, and this is, you know, confirmed that this is a wonderful voice that I get to play now. It has a deep, rich sound, which I particularly like to find in instruments, but it also has the other end of the spectrum, some brightness, some spin in the sound. I like to think, you know, this is late in Mr. Stradivarius's life. He was in his 90s, I believe. And so he was a wise man and had put in all of the things that he experimented with throughout his life and went into these type of models with maybe a bigger belly. And I think it creates this depth in the sound, a little bit of growliness, which maybe you could sort of compare to some of the Guarnerius' instrument, but still very much with the Stradivarius DNA of that beautiful spinny sound that you think of when you play beautiful Stradivarius instruments.
What do you think this violin has allowed you to do that you didn't have before?
Well, look, I should say that this is still a voice that I'm learning to maneuver, and I think it's gonna be a long-term journey. I know this, and so there's still many things that I have to discover in this instrument. But it certainly makes you stand a little bit taller when you know you're playing one of these great instruments. But of course, the sonority of it, the beauty in the sound is something that's inspiring. You can only be inspired by these wonderful instruments, and it pushes you to be better as an artist. You're looking for different colors. I'm always amazed how violins can affect a musician's timing. You know, just the way the sound comes out of these instruments really changes how you produce a phrase and which direction, well, maybe not which direction the phrase goes, but the timing of things, the connection between the notes. That's something that really great violins push you in certain directions. And but as I said, this is just the beginning of the journey, and I'm very excited to grow older with this instrument and know how to maneuver it better and better, hopefully, over the years.
Go back to the ecosystem, what it takes to make something like this happen. I think you would agree with me that we need to give credit to someone very special, in addition to the incredible owners and patrons, but there is someone, Vicky Kellogg, that I think sometimes they're just people that they believe in you, and she's an incredible human with magic powers.
She was a violinist herself, studied with the very best teachers, and had a great career as a violinist, and is a lover of chamber music and a lover of musicians. I always say she's one of ours, and she's very special to me. And she was instrumental with this, the instrument, and really the support, the moral and mental support that it takes, because, you know, just to give a brief overview of people, we were in touch on a daily basis. I was letting you know that I spoke to these people at this bank, and maybe this is an avenue that could work. And I spoke to this patron who has already a couple instruments. I don't know if it, you know, we were in touch all the time. And Vicky was there to help me also figure out, you know, if I should pursue this avenue or not this avenue. And then, of course, she was the huge link with the people that ended up buying this violin. So I'm ever grateful to her, and I'm grateful to you.
Do you remember any particular performance, whether it was at the beginning when you had it or more recently, where you ended the concert thinking, I'm so glad because this was like, thanks to this violin, do you remember like it was better or more inspired? Do you remember any sort of epiphany moment with this violin that was unique?
I don't know if I remember a specific concert, but I just know, especially at the beginning, and every time I put it down for a little while, like for example, I just was on tour and I decided to leave the violin here at Tarisio, and so now just playing it for the first time after just a few weeks of it being away from my hands, I'm always amazed with the A string. I mean, all the strings, but it has such a beauty, such a round and singing quality to the sound. So I don't know if it's, and I remember at the beginning, this was really, I think, the string that got me the most. And you can't find so many instruments with such a beautiful A string. But again, it has the whole spectrum, it has the whole range. Yeah, it's my baby, and it's a beautiful looking instrument too, by the way, which helps a lot.
If you pursue, you know, the sort of like the search of patrons to make this happen, because you succeeded, I'm sure it gives you the confidence that any other project, you can make it happen. This was not easy, but you made it happen because you believed that in yourself, and I think people believed in that as well. And I do feel that it probably adds another level of confidence in your life.
But again, I said earlier, it's the human connection that really matters, and this is really the biggest lesson I learned, is nothing's going to happen by yourself. You have to be open-minded and want to learn about other people, and you want to share with other people what it is that excites you, what are your passions, and then if you meet the right people and there's the right connection, then things can happen. So it's just very important to have an open mind, open heart towards other people, because that's the way everything works in this world. So.
I think that's beautifully said. I agree. An ecosystem is the real definition of chamber music.
Absolutely.
That we all have to work together. Well, for me, it was and it will be one of my biggest highlights to be able to put an exceptional violin in the hands of an exceptional friend.